welcome to another lecture in this or discussion, whatever you guys are calling it, in the series where we're discussing critical approaches to literature. Um, now, in the last one, we had started with the poet as divinely inspired, and I know that I try to be regular with these videos, but then sometimes I'm not because it's difficult on certain levels, in terms of just being able to think of things, in terms of being able to deliver the right content, all of that stuff. So it accumulates together, and there's stress, and there's like, can I say this? Can I not say this? Am I able to make things clear? Because there is no point in trying to deliver a course if I'm not able to explain things the right way. And when you're talking about, especially this course, critical approaches to literature. Now, for me, critical approaches to literature was something that I learned from a book by David Dyches. Um, so that's why it kind of becomes technical then on certain levels, and it's not like I've reread that book 100 times over, right? It was like once I read that and understood it, and now I'm trying to design a course and deliver that course. So that's where it kind of gets tricky. But we shall continue. Okay, so in the last one, I spoke about the poet as divinely inspired. Now, when we're talking about the poet as divinely inspired, I already said that to be able to appreciate something, to be able to understand something, you first need to be able to appreciate its uniqueness, okay? And so you need to understand that when I say the poet as divinely inspired, it does not only mean the poet, but it means any kind of creator in the world who's created something. You need to understand that they are divinely inspired. Not every time will they claim that they're divinely inspired. Sometimes they'll say, no, what I've created is not okay. But as somebody who's trying to critique something and then to be able to understand it, you need to see them as someone who's divinely inspired and has been able to create what they've been able to create. And that, of course, in certain contexts, people also tend to say that, not people, but Plato has suggested that with some souls, the thing is, you need to think of it like the muse has entered their virgin soul, and that's what's delivering something out of them. Especially, when we're reading religious scriptures, religious stories, stuff like that, over there, to be able to keep that respect intact, Plato suggested that you need to look at them as the muse having entered their soul to deliver what they're delivering, and that way you might be able to keep the sanctity and everything else intact and in place, even when you're critiquing it. Because when you're critiquing something, it's really easy to forget the boundary, the line. You need to keep that line, that boundary in place. Okay. And obviously, you need to then you need to not be a passive receiver to whatever they're delivering, but an active receiver. Because if you're an active receiver, then only you will be able to consider all factors in that situation. Now, I know consider all factors is a theory that Edward de Bono suggested, right? And when we're talking about Edward de Bono, he's talking about things in a very usually Edward de Bono is spoken about when we're speaking about situations of business and situations of like psychoanalysis and stuff like that. But in critical approach to literature, you need to psychoanalyze yourself too, of how you are approaching something. So consider all factors. And okay, so when you're appreciating then something, or when you're trying to see, to be able to appreciate, when you're looking at the poet or the creator as somebody who's divinely inspired, you need to understand that, or you need to remember that there's this theory about the stone of Heracla, right? The Stone of Herakla is this story uh, about the fact that when the muse has entered someone's soul, um, they have become almost like a stone, right? A stone can't break. Um, and the Stone of Herakla is like this. It's not like your sandstone. It's like, what can I say? It's like ruby or diamond or something like that. Something that won't wear off. Diamond still you can cut with a diamond, but this is a stone that cannot be cut. That's why it's so strong in its what can I say, in its being, that it's able to imagine that stone is like a chalk or a pen, okay, and through that chalk or pen, but it's not a chalk or a pen, right? Because with a pen you're writing with an ink that's removable. With a chalk you're writing something that's erasable. With this stone, whatever you're writing is there, it's being created. Now, with that creation may not make sense to many, but because here the creator is divinely inspired, the muse has entered their soul, they have become that stone, they're creating that, they're writing that. And why am I explaining this story? I'm just explaining this story because a lot of times, we read something or we watch something and then we're like, in our daily life, and I'm not saying that's wrong, but I'm just trying to compare that critical approach versus normally approaching something for criticism are two different things. And so to be able to approach something critically, you need to be able to have this perspective that, now the muse has entered their soul, they've become that stone. And so the idea is coming out of divine inspiration. It may sometimes not make sense to you at all what someone has written, and you will then try to make sense of it or something like that. For example, I remember I gave a lot of examples in the last video, but say Rumi stories, right? When people are reading Rumi stories, they're like, what is this? But to be able to appreciate Rumi stories, somebody saw him as somebody who's divinely inspired. And that's only when, Rumi was well understood. Otherwise, some of the stories, like for example, there's a story where, I won't go into that story, otherwise this video will become really long. But sometimes the creation will not make sense to you if you are not looking at the creator as somebody who's divinely inspired. Remember that. I think that's about it for this one. See you guys in another one soon. If you like the video, don't forget to give me a thumbs up, as well as subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon to stay updated for whenever a new video drops in. I hope that these lectures or discussions or videos, whatever they are and whatever I'm trying to create, they're making sense and you guys are learning something, because that's the point.